Welcome, dearly beloved anointed ones. The most terrifying thing about awakening is realizing you were never crazy, just surrounded by people who needed you to be. Let that sit for a moment, because tonight, not tomorrow, not next week, not after another breakdown, tonight something irreversible is going to activate in you, and the world around you will feel it, whether they admit it or not. Now here's the unsettling fact. According to a 2023 psychological study on social mirroring, the average person unconsciously suppresses their most authentic self, just to avoid triggering the truth in someone else. Think about that. Most people are literally acting just to stay palatable. But you've always been a glitch in that system. And starting tonight, you'll stop shrinking for their comfort and start emitting the frequency they swore didn't exist. Here's where it gets funny. You ever notice how the moment you start healing and glowing, random people from 7 years ago just pop back in like unpaid extras in a Netflix series? Oh, hey, just checking in. No, you're not a check-in. You're the plot twist they never saw coming. So buckle up, chosen one. This isn't motivational fluff. This isn't spiritual cupcake talk. This is the episode where everything changes. And by the end of tonight, you're not just going to walk into a new identity. You're going to embody something they've been praying never shows up. Let's get into it. Number 1, you will become a mirror that burns, not reflects. You're not here to reflect who people pretend to be. You're here to expose what they've been hiding. And starting tonight, that's exactly what you're going to become. Not a harmless mirror, but one that burns through illusion. You won't be reflecting back their carefully built images anymore. You'll start showing them everything they've been trying to bury, their lies, their guilt, their fake confidence, their fear of being irrelevant in the presence of someone real. This shift is quiet but violent. You won't have to say much. Your energy will do the talking. Your presence will start making people nervous, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're becoming too real for their performance. And the truth is, most people aren't afraid of being judged. They're afraid of being seen. Fully, deeply, and without a filter. That's what you'll do just by walking into a room. You'll start triggering breakdowns in people who haven't done the inner work. They won't be able to explain why they suddenly feel insecure, defensive, or irritated around you. But it'll happen over and over. And that's because their masks can't survive the heat you now carry. They might call you intimidating, arrogant, cold. But what they're really saying is, you don't let me lie to myself anymore, and I hate that. You see, people are comfortable around mirrors that flatter them, but the moment that mirror starts telling the truth, they want to smash it. They'll try to twist your truth into a problem, but deep down they know exactly what you are. Proof that their carefully curated image is cracking. This is power most people don't talk about. The power to hold space so pure, so piercing, that others have no choice but to confront themselves or flee. It's not about being better than anyone. It's about carrying a level of inner clarity that turns into spiritual X-ray vision. And it's not always glamorous. Sometimes it's lonely. Sometimes it gets you falsely labeled, misunderstood, even hated. But it's real. And tonight that energy is going to lock into place. You're no longer just reflecting the world. You're about to melt the illusions it runs on. Number 2, you will become proof that spiritual warfare is not metaphor, it's surveillance, gaslighting, and isolation tactics. This isn't some abstract concept anymore. Spiritual warfare is real, and for chosen ones, it's never been a metaphor. It's been your life. And tonight, you're finally going to start seeing it for what it truly is. You were never just having bad luck or going through a rough patch. You were under surveillance. You were being tested, studied, and manipulated, not just by people, but by the systems they served without even realizing it. Every betrayal, every fake friend, every strange moment of isolation wasn't random. It was targeted. The tactics were subtle. They gaslit you until you questioned your own reality. They isolated you from your support systems to keep you weak. They flooded your life with distractions to keep you too tired to notice the truth. And the worst part, most of the people being used against you had no idea what role they were playing. They thought they were just moving on, setting boundaries, or doing what's best for them. But spiritually, they were pawns in a very real war over your soul. This is what happens when your energy holds something ancient and rare. When your frequency starts threatening the systems built on lies, you get marked. You don't get to walk through life the way others do. You're watched. You're tested. You're constantly forced to choose between breaking down or breaking through. And now, after everything you've survived, you're entering a stage where those patterns finally start to make sense. You're going to look back and realize that betrayal wasn't personal, it was strategic. That loss wasn't punishment, it was a push. That isolation wasn't emptiness, it was preparation. You've been trained in silence for this moment. The way you kept your head up when nobody clapped, the way you held your ground when no one believed you, the way you trusted your intuition, even when it made no sense on paper. All of that wasn't for nothing. Tonight marks the shift where the warfare around you becomes visible, not just emotionally, but spiritually, energetically, and even physically. The veil lifts, the patterns reveal themselves, and suddenly you stop feeling crazy because you start seeing the battlefield for what it truly is, and you're no longer the hunted. You're the one carrying the intel. Number 3, you will become a frequency that corrupts false systems. Your energy is starting to do something people can't fake their way around anymore. You're not just vibrating higher. That phrase doesn't even touch what's happening to you. Your frequency is becoming disruptive, not in a chaotic way, but in a way that breaks down everything built on lies. When you enter a space now, people who rely on manipulation, control, and performance will start glitching. Their words won't land the same. Their charm won't work. Their ability to manipulate the room will start breaking down in real time, all because you're there. That's not about ego. That's not about power trips. It's about how your energy is evolving. You've shed so much, gone through so much darkness, been broken and rebuilt so many times that your aura no longer blends in. You're becoming a kind of living signal that exposes what's fake just by being present. People might not be able to put their finger on it, but they'll feel something shift. That shift is them realizing their usual tactics don't hold up in your energy anymore. People who once had power over the room will lose their grip when you're in it. Why? Because their energy was always built on a lie, on image, on fear, on control, and yours isn't. Your frequency is built on truth now. It's not just high, it's clean. And clean frequency corrupts systems that depend on illusion. That's why you might notice people avoiding eye contact, changing the subject, laughing awkwardly, acting like you said something wrong when you were dead right. It's not you. It's your frequency breaking their programming. You'll notice technology glitching around you more. You'll feel people randomly draining or energizing you. You'll walk into places that feel off because your nervous system is now in tune with what others can't sense yet. You'll stop being able to stay in certain spaces for long, not because you're sensitive, but because your spirit refuses to lower itself just to stay comfortable. This is a real transition. Your energy isn't just rising, it's becoming a direct threat to anything that was built in darkness. You've officially become too spiritually expensive for the cheap games they used to play. Number 4, you will become a timebreaker. You're stepping into a level of spiritual influence that bends reality. Not metaphorically, literally. You're about to break time as they understand it. Patterns that have repeated for generations will stop with you. Cycles people said were just the way things are will fall apart in your presence. What you do next, tonight, sends ripples into the past, present, and future. That's why people from your past are suddenly thinking about you. Why someone you haven't heard from in years is going to text or call randomly. It's not random. You're vibrating through dimensions now. The pressure you feel in your chest. That's not stress. That's not fear. That's data. A spiritual upload. Your spirit is downloading divine intel, old soul memory, and cosmic responsibility all at once. You're becoming the reset point for everything that went left. Everything that got twisted, lied about, silenced, or stolen. The universe is giving you the authority to restore it. You don't chase closure anymore. You are the closure. Your healing isn't just for you. It rewrites timelines where pain once dominated. People who wronged you will start remembering what they did, and they won't even know why it's suddenly haunting them now. That's what happens when a chosen one becomes a timebreaker. You're not just rising, you're correcting. Their denial won't protect them anymore. Their fake stories won't hold weight anymore. Your evolution creates a vibrational collapse of everything fake that was built around your name. Even your past self. The one who suffered, who didn't know better, who tolerated what they didn't deserve, will start to feel your presence. You'll feel like you're meeting yourself again. A version of you that finally got the justice, wisdom, and voice they never had. You've been prepared for this moment without even realizing it. And now the lines of time are bending toward your light. You are the event they never saw coming, the restart button, the cosmic interruption. And starting tonight, everything they distorted starts to correct itself through you. Number 5, you will become the secret they hoped you'd never remember. They didn't just hurt you. They buried you in distraction, shame, and noise, so deep you'd start to doubt you ever came from light. They surrounded you with false narratives, fake identities, and false timelines, hoping you'd stay asleep forever. But what they never accounted for was the return of your memory. Not just thoughts, but cellular remembrance. Tonight, that memory begins to strike, and when it hits, it won't whisper. It will roar through your spirit like thunder tearing through silence. You've always felt it, that haunting sense that something wasn't adding up, that you were watching life, but not really in it like everyone else seemed to be. As if the world had already agreed to a script you never got handed. That was never confusion. That was recognition. A deep, ancient awareness that what you were seeing wasn't the full truth. They told you you were too sensitive, too intense, too rebellious, but what they really meant was, you're too awake. They tried to rewire you to forget who you are, a direct descendant of light, of purpose, of power. That's why you were shamed for knowing too much, mocked for being different, punished for standing still when others ran toward chaos. But now the programming is cracking. Your divine memory is bleeding back through the cracks they couldn't seal, and the secret they most feared, that you would one day remember, is unfolding right now. You weren't just someone they tried to control, you were the one they feared would wake up and speak. And that's why they pushed you so hard to forget. Forget your instincts, forget your truth, forget the way your energy shifted rooms long before you ever spoke. But your memory isn't just mental, it's spiritual, it's etched into your soul. And no amount of manipulation, trauma, or lies could erase it permanently. Tonight, that memory comes online. The secret is no longer buried. You are the revelation they tried to silence. You are the return of something ancient. And the version of you that rises now, that's the version they prayed would never reawaken. Too late. You've remembered. Number 6, you will become a living judgment. You won't have to lift a finger. You won't have to expose receipts, defend yourself, or scream your side of the story. Your existence alone will begin to convict people. That's what happens when you heal for real. When you stop playing small, stop explaining yourself, and step fully into the version of you they swore would never make it. You become living judgment. Not because you're bitter, not because you're out for revenge, but because truth moves through you now. And truth doesn't need a mic, it just shows up, and everything false starts crumbling in its presence. They called you the problem. They tried to spin your silence into guilt. They hoped your absence would erase the memory of what they did, but it didn't. In fact, the longer you stayed quiet, the louder the consequences grew, and now you're stepping into a season where simply hearing your name will trigger people's conscience like an alarm clock they can't snooze. Their karma will find them, not through some mystical punishment, but through the mirror your life now holds up to theirs. Because you were never the villain, you were the test, and they failed. Your healing will haunt them, your glow-up will disturb them. Your peace will irritate them more than your pain ever did. That's how you know they were never sorry. They were just comfortable when you were broken. But now, you've outgrown their narratives and you're walking proof that none of their tactics worked. That you were stronger than their smear campaigns, colder than their rejection, and more spiritually protected than they ever imagined. They didn't just lose access to you, they lost their cover story. Your freedom will become the evidence. Your success will be the closing argument. And every room you walk into from now on will carry the unspoken message, this is who they tried to destroy. Your presence will activate delayed consequences. They'll try to act confused, like they don't know why things are falling apart, but deep down they'll know. They messed with someone they had no business touching, and now you've become the sentence they thought they'd never have to serve. Number 7, you will become the end of their power trips. They ran their games on borrowed time, and that time just ran out. The second you stop waiting for explanations, apologies, or validation, the entire dynamic flips. You're no longer sitting at the table they tried to control. You're removing the table altogether. What once felt like power they had over you is now exposed for what it always was: manipulation, ego, and smoke. And tonight, that illusion breaks. Because you've finally accepted the truth they prayed you'd never realize. You were never under their power. You were just under their spell. They had control because you kept looking for meaning in the chaos. You wanted clarity, so you stayed. You wanted peace, so you over-explained. You wanted truth, so you gave them chance after chance to act like someone worthy of your presence. But those days are over. You're not asking anymore. You're knowing. And when a chosen one starts moving from knowing instead of hoping, the entire structure of manipulation falls apart. They thrived on your doubt, on your empathy, on your willingness to keep giving people the benefit of the doubt even when they showed you who they were. But now, you've become the answer to every question they used to leave hanging in the air. Your energy no longer pleads, it confirms. Your peace no longer seeks permission, it declares. And what used to make you feel confused or powerless, you now see it clearly for what it was, a distraction to keep you small enough to carry their ego. That ends tonight. They don't get to toy with your mind, your emotions, or your value anymore. Because you're not the wounded one looking for closure. You are the closure. They don't get to ghost you, breadcrumb you, or guilt trip you into staying connected. Because you're not the abandoned anymore, you're the awakening. And their fake power only worked when you didn't know yours. Now you do. Their power trip crashes the second you stop playing the role they assigned you. They're not in control anymore, they're exposed. And what they're really facing now is a version of you they never imagined they'd have to answer to. Number 8, you will become the sacred text they can't read. You're about to become the kind of truth that can't be Googled, debated, or diluted. The kind that doesn't come with a manual because it is the manual. The kind of energy that isn't loud, but pierces. You'll walk into rooms and feel the shift without saying a word. Not because you're trying to be deep or mysterious, but because you literally carry codes others weren't designed to access. That's what happens when you evolve past surface-level consciousness. You become a sacred text, not made of paper, but of presence. People will hear your voice and feel something ancient. They'll be drawn in, not because they understand you, but because your frequency reminds them of something they lost or never knew existed. But instead of honoring that, many will get frustrated. They'll try to reduce you, box you in, label you. Why? Because it's easier to mock what you don't understand than to admit you're spiritually unequipped to receive it. They'll look at you, feel convicted, and convince themselves you're the problem, when really it's the gap between your awareness and theirs that makes them uncomfortable. This is where your power becomes untouchable. You won't waste energy trying to explain yourself to people who don't even know how to listen without ego. You won't argue to be seen by people who refuse to take the veil off their own eyes, because your truth isn't up for discussion, it just is. And your life, the way you speak, walk, hold space, even your silence, it will become the message. Not everyone will like it. Not everyone is supposed to. Some were meant to be confused by you. That confusion is their spiritual consequence. You're not here to be read like a book. You're here to be witnessed, like a mystery, and when they realize they can't interpret you, can't copy you, can't decode you, some will feel drawn closer and others will retreat in discomfort. That's the separation, the wheat from the weeds, the real from the fake. And all you had to do was be. Number 9, you will become the interrupter of generational programming. You weren't born to fit in with the story your bloodline kept repeating. You were born to interrupt it, violently, unapologetically, and completely. The dysfunction they wrapped in tradition, the silence they called respect, the suffering they normalized as love, it all ends with you. Not because you hate your family, but because you finally had the courage to question what everyone else blindly followed. That questioning didn't make you the rebel. It made you the truth. And truth doesn't come to preserve, it comes to disrupt. They wanted you to carry on their patterns like it was your inheritance. But you saw through it early. Even as a kid, something in you knew this can't be right. The emotional manipulation, the gaslighting, the favoritism, the secrets everyone knew but never said out loud. You noticed. And they noticed you noticing. That's when they started treating you like the problem. You weren't the problem. You were the interruption. The glitch in the matrix of generational trauma that told everyone to shut up and smile. Your healing will feel like betrayal to them. Your boundaries will sound like disrespect. your distance will be labeled as bitterness. But don't be fooled. That's not truth. That's programming talking. Programming that tells them to attack anything that threatens their illusion of family. And because you stopped playing your assigned role, you became dangerous. Not for what you did, but for what you refused to keep doing. You refused to shrink. You refused to perform. You refused to be the emotional mule for a system that fed off your silence. You're not here to be liked. You're here to liberate. You're the one who walked away and finally breathed. The one who said, "This ends with me," and meant it. And they felt that shift. Some will try to study you, not to learn, but to find a new way to guilt you back in. Some will fear you because your peace proves how unhealthy the system really was. Others will remain in denial, pretending nothing's changed. But everything has. Because you didn't just break a cycle, you shattered a legacy of survival dressed up as love. And now, you're the living evidence that freedom was always possible. Number 10, you will become a soul too expensive for their access. There comes a point in your evolution where you no longer lower your frequency to be understood. Not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. That point is now. Tonight you step into a level of spiritual value that can't be bargained with. Your soul becomes a luxury, not a convenience. And that means people who once had unrestricted access to you will now find themselves locked out. Not because you changed the locks, but because they no longer carry the currency to enter. You spent years trying to make people comfortable. You shrunk yourself. You over-explained. You ignored your intuition just to keep peace that was never real. You tolerated people who were only connected to your past wounds, not your healed self. But healing raised your price. And now the version of you they once manipulated is gone, replaced by someone who knows their worth and acts like it. Your presence isn't free anymore. It costs honesty. It costs accountability. It costs spiritual maturity. And most people can't afford that. They'll start to notice. You'll stop responding. You'll decline invitations without guilt. You'll let the phone ring. And when they try to figure out what's wrong, the truth will hit them. Your silence isn't anger, it's discernment. You finally stopped explaining yourself to people who only listen to respond, not understand. Your new energy is an atmosphere they're not equipped to breathe in. They'll talk about how you changed, and they'll be right. Because what they really miss is their old control over you, not you. Family won't be an exception. Blood ties don't grant spiritual access anymore. If someone brings confusion, chaos, or ego every time they enter your space, they don't get to enter at all. No matter the title, your peace is now gated, your presence is premium, your energy is sacred. They might knock, they might apologize, they might perform humility, but unless their spirit has evolved, unless they've done the real work, their access remains expired. Because you're no longer driven by guilt, you're governed by alignment. You didn't become distant, you became divine. And now they're learning the hard way. Access to you was never a right, it was always a privilege. And that privilege has been revoked. Number 11, you will become the thing they claimed was impossible. They said you'd never recover, that you'd never rise without them, that the damage they did to you was permanent. They smirked when you stumbled, gossiped when you cried, and clinked glasses when they thought they buried you for good. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't calculate, was that you were never their victim. You were becoming the one thing they swore couldn't exist. Someone who turned ruins into resurrection. They didn't just doubt you, they invested in your failure because your fall was their comfort. Your pain was their proof that they were stronger. But healing rewrote that whole narrative. And now, every breath you take in peace, every step you take in power, every word you speak in truth becomes an active contradiction to the story they told about you. You weren't supposed to get here, and yet you're becoming the reality they can't unsee, the living, breathing, unstoppable proof that their judgments were nothing but projections. What they laughed at in you has become your strength. The trauma they used to label you has become your training ground. The very scars they mocked have turned into spiritual technology, each one etched with wisdom, each one pointing to survival, to redemption, to power. You don't just survive anymore, you radiate, and your glow offends them. Not because it's arrogant, but because it's accurate. They said you were too broken, your joy is about to make them choke. Too poor, your blessings are about to multiply with receipts. Too damaged, you're now becoming the safest space in the room, not just for yourself, but for others who were once told the same lies. Your life is no longer just yours, it's a prophecy in motion. You are what happens when a soul refuses to stay buried. You're not just rising, you're rising in full view of those who swore you wouldn't. And every time you smile, thrive, walk in peace, it undoes every curse they casually spoke over you. Your healing is not a comeback story, it's a cosmic slap in the face to every lie they ever told. And tonight your very existence is a rebellion, a miracle they can't explain, a truth they hoped would never be proven. Too late. You already are it. Number 12. You will become the reminder that God was watching the entire time. They thought they got away with it, thought the silence meant God wasn't watching, thought your breakdowns, your isolation, your confusion were signs of abandonment, both divine and human. But what they couldn't see was that God wasn't absent. God was documenting. Every lie they told, every fake apology, every backroom conversation, every joke laced with cruelty, none of it disappeared into the void. It was all being counted. And tonight, the balance begins to tip. You didn't survive because you were lucky. You survived because you were protected. You didn't make it through by your own strength alone. Heaven carried you when no one else would. And while they whispered, plotted, and pointed fingers, thinking you were finished, God was setting a table, not just in secret, but in their presence. That silence wasn't neglect, it was strategy. God was quiet because the setup required it. Now comes the storm. Not to destroy you, but to elevate you so high that their lies collapse under the weight of your truth. Your rise won't just be inspirational, it will be surgical. It will slice through every false narrative they tried to build about you. You're not just coming back with peace, you're coming back with proof. And they'll have to watch, because the same mouths that tried to tear you down are now being forced to bear witness to the favor you carry. They'll squint for flaws, but all they'll see is glory. They'll search for loopholes, but find locked doors. The divine receipts are rolling in, and your life is the headline. This isn't revenge, this is restoration with an audience. God waited until now so the timing would sting, so the ones who laughed would realize they weren't laughing at you, they were laughing at something holy. And that laughter just hit the expiration date. You, standing in your power, your clarity, your healed presence, you become the reminder that God was never ignoring the injustice. He was building your vindication, brick by brick, silence by silence, and tonight that silence turns into a roar, not from your mouth, but from the heavens. Number 13, you will become a force that doesn't ask permission to exist anymore. You spent years trying to make yourself digestible. You lowered your volume, your intensity, your truth, just to make others comfortable. You asked for permission in spaces you were already qualified to own. You waited for people to validate you, to clap for you, to say yes, before you even gave yourself the green light. But tonight, that version of you dies. The one who over-explained, who walked on eggshells, who begged to be included, gone. Tonight, something ancient and wild inside you snaps awake. It doesn't knock, it doesn't whisper, it doesn't ask questions, it moves. This is the version of you that doesn't care if they get it, if they clap, or if they stay. This version doesn't water itself down or dim its light to soothe fragile egos. This version shows up like thunder and walks like prophecy. And it doesn't wait to be understood before stepping fully into purpose. You've been tricked into thinking you had to earn your right to exist. That being too much made you unworthy, that your sensitivity was a weakness, that your voice needed filters. But none of that was ever true. What they labeled too much was actually the exact amount required to break chains, not just for yourself, but for others watching you in silence, waiting for permission to rise. There's no going back now. You're no longer looking for a seat at the table. You are the table. You're no longer hoping they see your worth. You're building a world where their approval is irrelevant. The fear that once held your throat closed has been evicted. You're not second-guessing anymore. You're deciding, moving, becoming, and people will notice. Some will shrink, some will resent your boldness. But the ones who are real, they'll feel free because of it. You just taught the world something powerful. When you stop asking for permission, the universe stops saying no. So tonight, breathe deep. Walk in without knocking. Speak without apologizing. Exist without shrinking. Because the version of you that begged to be chosen has officially been replaced by the one who knows they were born chosen. Number 14, you will become the test they will all fail. You're no longer just walking through life, you're walking through people's masks. You're becoming the mirror they can't avoid, the proof they can't deny, and the test they never studied for. Your presence will reveal everything hidden beneath their surface smiles, not because you're trying to expose them, but because your elevation automatically divides the genuine from the jealous. The moment you level up, their reactions will start writing their own report cards. This isn't about arrogance, it's about alignment. When you glow, they'll either match your light or run from it. But the key thing is this: you won't have to say a word. The peace you walk in, the confidence you carry, the glow you radiate without effort, it all becomes a divine trigger. You'll see people start to act different, not because you changed, but because your transformation made it impossible for them to hide who they really are. Some will quietly fall back, unable to be happy for you because they've secretly been competing with you the whole time. Some will try to sabotage what they can't control. And a few, the rare few, will rise with you because they were never threatened by your growth. They were waiting for it. And now that it's here, God uses your life like litmus paper. Who celebrates, who gossips, who withdraws, who imitates, who congratulates, and who complicates. You become the test, not to shame anyone, but to reveal who's truly in alignment with your destiny. Because the next level you're stepping into can't afford counterfeit support. The test isn't about who likes you. It's about who can handle what God's doing in you. Jealousy, ego, and hidden bitterness will rise to the surface like oil in water. It has to, because your presence now demands honesty. You won't even need discernment. Their reactions will tell you everything. So walk in the room boldly, shine fully, speak freely. Your success is holy, and it comes with a spiritual assignment to reveal what's real. You're not just elevating, you're separating, not out of pride, but purpose. You are now the divine filter. And some folks are about to fail that test with flying colors. Conclusion. And now, chosen one, take a breath, because you will never be who you were before tonight. That old version of you, the one who doubted, dimmed, and deferred, buried with no funeral. What's rising now is rare. It's not ego, it's not revenge, it's remembrance. You're remembering what the world tried to make you forget, that you were never here to blend in, be quiet, or settle. You were born to disrupt patterns, break illusions, and carry a frequency too high for the average soul to process. Tonight wasn't just about inspiration, it was about activation. This was a spiritual switch flipped in real time. From this moment forward, you don't need closure. You are the closure. You don't ask for permission. You are the permission. You don't chase validation. You are the evidence. Every wound became a weapon. Every scar became a symbol. Every betrayal became a blueprint. And now your life isn't just a story. It's scripture in motion. You are no longer an option in anyone's life. You are the test, the prophecy, the filter, and the judgment walking. Your glow is the audit. Your silence is the verdict. Your peace is proof that they lost access to something priceless. They thought you were done. That was just God drawing the curtain back. So walk tall. Be loud in your silence. Be unapologetic in your light. There is no returning to smallness. You've been called higher, not to impress, but to impact. The world will try to pull you back into old cycles, old conversations, old roles. Don't go. You've outgrown them. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them test themselves against your glow. The real ones will rise with you. The fake ones will fall off naturally. That's not pride. That's divine filtration. You are not becoming. You already are. And tonight was just the moment the rest of the world got notified. If this message lit something in you, if you felt seen, awakened, or divinely confirmed, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button right now and become part of a community that speaks your language and honors your light. Like the video, so this truth keeps rising in the algorithm. Comment below and let the world know which part hit you the hardest, because your voice matters here. And if you know someone who needs this word, share it, text it, DM it, drop it in a group chat. Be the messenger for someone else's breakthrough. This isn't just content, this is a movement, and your support keeps the fire alive. I'll see you in the next video. But until then, keep glowing, keep rising, and never apologize for the power you carry. You're not just watching this channel, you are the reason it exists. Stay blessed.